aggro blue-black deck.
Yeah, that aggro deck, I think, is actually better than the mill deck. Or certainly with everyone else trying to get the mill deck, you really prefer to be the aggro.
There's your Snapping Drake.
Okay.
Draft.
Sirku goes to Masashi.
Draft.
Spark Mage Apprentice to Morofuji. That makes sense.
Draft.
So Scatter the Seeds is
Scatter into Ichiro's deck. That lets Neil take the Fist of the Ironwood. Now, I know you think that that's the wrong order, right?
I take Fist of Ironwood over Scatter the Seeds.
Draft.
So does Neil.
So does Neil. Yep. So Neil's very happy with how that worked out, I think.
Draft.
He would have liked to have gotten both.
Draft.
What are you going to do? Tidewater Minion goes to Oiso.
Draft.
It was a good pack for his deck.
That was a very good pack for him.
Draft.
Reasonable.
Draft again.
Well, one-ones aren't great. You already have one Fangtail you need to deal with.
That's
funny. Lay out
but it does have the
second
Helix.
booster.
Yeah.
All right, here's John Sunny's pack.
One pick for the American team. Faith's Fetters, which he can't take. Bell Tower
Sphinx. And Vulture Zombies in the pack.
And Putrefy. This pack is fantastic.
Wow. Is that
another Snapping Drake?
It sure looks like Putrefy. Maybe I've got the...
There's an Ars Cor... What is his name again? Ars Koros?
Oh, my list is wrong.
The guy who becomes a 5/5?
Argus Kos.
Argus Kos. I mean, if you're trying to draft the red-white fatty deck...
Yeah, they swapped a pack out. I don't have a pack.
Draft.
Oh, there we are.
So Sonny took Putrefy there.
Huh.
Draft.
Japanese are scrambling.
Argus Kos. Not to Morofuji.
Morofuji took Fate's Fetters. Another good card out of that pack.
Is that better than Argus Kos in a red-white beatdown deck?
I don't believe so, but...
Draft
again. Doesn't sound right to me.
And then Neil has to D up the Snapping Drake.
Boy still got the Sphinx, I guess?
Yes, he did.
Draft.
Yeah, his deck's shaping up quite nicely.
Draft.
Yeah, it seems clear that John is playing green. Putrefy, Root Canali, Civic Wayfinder. He's set up for blue-black green. Neil.
Draft again.
Green-black, I guess.
Draft.
He doesn't really have the white to splash. The Celestial cards also wound up in John Sunny's deck. It's weird how the Americans have managed to draft high-quality cards, but they don't really have them all in the right seats, unfortunately. Here's a Oiso's pack.
So another Bell Tower Sphinx,
yep.
A Vulturous Zombie,
yeah,
a Spelunker's in the Mirror, and basically a Disembowel and an Aura Touch Mage, which may be useful in the future for the American team.
So this is Oiso's pack, and the Japanese get 3 picks out of it,
and the Japanese, I think, right now are trying to figure out if they really want the Spelunkers or do they want to take a Disembowel away from the American team with Morofuji's pick.
Draft.
I think they're going to go with the
Oiso
Spelunkers.
clearly takes the Sphinx. Yeah, the land walk when you know... I mean, that guy's just unblockable. Mountain walk is way better when you know your opponent has mountains.
And Vulture Zombie to...
Vulture Zombie to Ichiro.
Draft.
Neil takes up a Farseek.
Draft.
Surprised Neil wants that rather than John.
Well, he'll get it back.
Draft.
John takes the Disembowel.
Right, because he now needs to deal with the Vulture Zombie. He has to have some removal. Or that card gets out of hand pretty quickly.
But John is has more colors in his deck right now. What was the second card Sonny took out of this pack?
Draft.
I think I missed it. Maybe we can check with Brendan.
Draft.
What was the second card Sonny took out of this pack?
Draft again.
Remand was the other card Sonny took.
Draft.
I love Remand.
And draft the last card.
Better than Farseek?
Morofuji.
In a 3-color deck?
Open and lay out your second booster.
Doesn't sound right. I might be wrong.
Yeah. No, I think you're right.
I guess the thing is Neil can't play the Remand. They've got a card that either one of them can play and a card that only John can play. So, yeah, I think they did decide it upright. Another Fangtail.
This pack was opened up by Oiso. We've got a Last Gasp, a Fangtail, and I guess Golgari Rotworm. The packs line up pretty perfectly for the Japanese team here for them to get 3 picks and really not leave the American team
5 seconds.
Much of anything. And Transluminant and a Guardian of Vitagazi.
Draft.
They only get 2 picks.
Oh, they only get 2 picks. I'm sorry. This is Morofuji's pack.
Yep.
Draft.
They took Last Gasp for each
draft.
So it's
Now
route.
Neil gets to take the Rotworm.
Draft.
Neil's deck's got some top end, that's for sure.
Antonino just took the Guardian of
Draft.
Vitorgazi. He might be green, white, red.
Interesting.
Draft.
Has he got any green cards to this point?
Oizo's mill deck just picked up a
Draft
Psychic
again.
Drain. And a Mortipede.
Draft.
Vigor Mortis to
Draft.
Sun. Garrison to Antonino.
Draft.
Neil gets
Transluminant.
Transluminant, sure.
Draft.
See the hand signals.
He-
Players
Ichiro-
just covering up the cards that they want.
Ichiro
Don't take
jumped
this from
on
me.
that
Draft.
ball picker wedge. He really wanted that card.
I like that card.
Draft.
I think you
Yeah,
want
great
one.
Yep, absolutely.
You don't
Draft.
necessarily want multiples,
And draft
but
the
I
last
definitely
card.
prefer to have one in my deck
More
than not
movie.
having one.
You can certainly
Lay
knock
out
your
your
opponent
third
out out of
booster. This
having
one will be going in the opposite
finding any
direction.
good cards. You can leave lands floating on top of their deck.
All right, 2/3 of the way through the draft, Brian. Who's winning?
I think the Japanese are winning. And Morofuji's going to pick up a third Fangtail.
Wow. Yeah, I don't like Antonino. Doesn't seem like he's got
Third
all lightning
Fangtail,
helix. That's
a
all his deck
third
has.
Bell Tower Sphinx for
Oizo.
Oizo. Because we're switching directions here.
Yep.
We're going to get a
They do
Fist, a
ship a
Dismisser.
Watch Wolf. but-
Dismisser is going to go into John's deck.
Yeah, the packs of
5
crack have
seconds.
broken extremely well for the Japanese. And Team USA had a plan of how they thought they could react to the
Draft.
strategy they knew Japan was going to run. I don't think the cards have allowed them to implement
Draft.
it. It's like the packs have broken doubly well for the Japanese.
Oizo took
Draft.
Last Gasp over a Bell Tower Sphinx there.
Oh, that's interesting.
John took the Demir
Draft.
House Guard. Watch Wolf for the green, white, red.
Draft.
Antonino, who's had to move out of the lower toughness Boros
Draft.
guild because of all those pingers.
Sure.
Draft again. Draft.
Dismisser for Neil. So both he and
Draft.
John are basically green, black, blue.
Draft.
It's pretty smart that they let the Bell Tower Sphinx go
Draft.
because they knew it would come back. They essentially bounced it off of Ichiro.
Now, Boros
Draft.
Fury Shield bounces all the way back around to Morofuji.
Same play
Draft
we
again.
complained about Japan doing.
Draft. And
No,
draft the last card.
The card's not
Card's
very well.
late,
so lay out
DeRosa
your
can't
third
really afford to
booster.
waste any picks now. If he's switching into green-white,
Mhm.
he's got a couple of dead red-white picks early on, and he's really kind of scuffling for cards right now.
It's gotta be. Yet another Fangtail.
Yet another Fangtail. They might not be able to.
No, this is Oizo's pack, I
Oizo opened
believe.
this pack, so I don't think they're going to let the fourth one get around to Morofuji. Right now, the American
Basically
team doesn't have an
highlighted pack.
obvious red player.
Huh.
I mean,
That's
DeRosa
what
might
they're
still
looking
be,
at, right?
DeRosa might still be red, but
5
he's
seconds.
mostly green-white at this point.
Draft.
Sony took the Necroplasm.
Draft. Draft.
And Antonino takes the Fangtail.
Draft.
What do you think of the American
Draft.
body language right now?
I think they look utterly defeated.
Draft.
They look really despondent. The packs have just
Draft
every
again.
time the Japanese have had three picks
Draft.
unopposed, all three cards have gone the Japanese way, filled in perfectly for the
Draft.
decks. The American team has been scrambling to adjust their colors, and they don't seem to have ideal matchups. The commons and the rares seem to have gone the way of the Japanese
Draft.
team.
Draft again.
Yeah, I can't disagree.
Draft.
And you can
And
read it
draft
on
the last
Antonino's
card.
face and Neil's face.
Yeah.
Sunny, lay out your third
Those
booster.
do not look like happy magicians right now.
You know when Neil's beating you because he just makes you feel even more miserable. He's, he's definitely a master of head games, but right now he doesn't. It doesn't look like his body language is just slumped and brooding.
Japanese, meanwhile, sort of confident, flicking through the cards. DeRosa trying to figure out what to take out of this pack.
There's the Spelunkers.
Like, looks at Neil. Do I take this Spelunkers? Shakes his
5
head.
seconds.
Buddy, what do I do?
Draft.
Takes brain spoil.
No, Sonny took the brain spoil.
Draft.
DeRosa's taking the Spelunkers.
Sure.
And the Siege Worm is going to go to
Draft.
Neil.
That was reasonable.
Draft.
Pass the Stinkweed Imp, I guess.
Stinkweed Imp is
Another
going
cell
to
sword.
Stinkweed Imp is going to go to Oiso.
Sure.
Oh, he's taking Lurking Informant. He's really just solidifying his deck there.
Lurking Informant,
then he'll get the Stinkweed. Wow, that's a great wheel.
Yeah, he's the wheel.
Draft.
Voyager Staff, an underrated card, I think.
Draft.
I don't know if Morphuji will play it. It doesn't have a lot of come into play abilities.
Draft.
You can also use it to protect your guys.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of like a otherworldly journey.
Draft.
Right.
That's on the
Except it's
table.
face up.
Yeah.
No surprise by it.
Draft. Draft again.
Tarasa looks just...
Draft. And draft the last card.
Japanese are happy,
Rosa,
looking
lay out
over.
your third booster.
Rosa. Yeah. Not happy.
Another last gasp. Galvanic Arc. Greater Forgeling. Oh, there's a Razia Lightning Angel.
Huh.
Or Razia... Oh, no, that's a Fire Main Angel. That's the 6-mana one.
Is that what Antonino's deck needed?
It's certainly good, but, I mean, then you're giving Galvanic Arc to the other team. I mean, he needs a win. He's thinking about the Galvanic Arc. He's thinking about killing those... He's thinking about killing those Fangtails.
5 seconds.
Alex 4.
Draft.
The Arc.
Takes the Galvanic Arc.
Wow, is Neil going to deal the Angel?
Neil's going to take the last gasp.
Sure.
They could also be...
Draft.
And the Angel goes straight into Morphuji's deck.
Draft.
That was an overwhelm into Shimura's deck.
Draft.
A second Lurking Informant for Oiso's deck is
Draft.
spectacular, I think. Considering there have been no Vidalcan and transfers in this draft,
again.
his deck looks spectacular.
Morphuji's deck looks spectacular too. I mean, it is the red white beatdown deck you dream of.
It's actually a little more of a control deck with triple Yoshino Fangtail, and he can actually just not attack. He can just sit there.
He's got the aggro and he's got the Fangtail option. It's like he's got all the sellsword brutes you want to come out, rush out early and smash your opponent with. But then he's also got this Fangtail backup.
And then
I guess he's missing the gold cards, right? He's missing the
Reeves,
the 2/2 haste flyer, and he's missing the trumpeter. But he's pieced together, like he had a coherent strategy, and he's pieced it together nicely.
Yeah, the deck looks real. Another Golgari Rotworm for Neil here, I think.
Can you move the button too?
Oh, there's an Ursipine.
Nice.
Could push Neil's deck, and there's a Faith Sweaters. Again, look at this pack for the Japanese.
Yeah, Neil gets one card, but then the Japanese get the next 3.
And they're going to get Faith Sweaters, Vidalcan Entrancer,
Rotworm.
Yeah, and
there's
Rotworm
not a
if they want.
red-white card.
No,
they took Fetters to Morphuji. Ichiro gets a Rotworm. And Dismisser goes to... I'm sorry, Entrancer goes to Masashi.
Yeah, no, it's, again, a fantastic pack for the Japanese.
5 seconds.
When something like this happens, is this a result of superior planning? I mean, do you...
Draft.
It's not clear that either team's strategy is set up all that much better. I mean, they both got red, white in the middle. They both got green decks on both ends, right? They disagree over where you put the blue-black deck, right? Sunny has it, the Americans have it in Sunny's hands on the right, the Japanese have it in Masashi's hands on the left. You know, though, that's got to favor the Japanese, because 2/3 of the time, Oiso is cutting John Sunny. So Oiso is just in position to get the better blue-black deck, right? I mean, 1/3 of the time Sunny picks first, but 2/3 of the time is Masashi. That seems good. And then on the flip side, you've got Neil cutting off Ichiro, so the Japanese green-black deck isn't getting the platinum hits because Neil's cutting them 2/3. You know, it's all kind of symmetrical.
I'd like
that flip gives Oiso the better blue-black deck, but it gives Neil the better black-green deck.
Right. I'd like to see Sunny's deck. Sunny's deck might actually be pretty
lay out
good.
your third booster.
He's got multiple house guards. He's got multiple flyers. He's got the dismisser.
Yeah, I'm not sure either team has a strategic advantage here. I think they've got different strategies. The Americans had an angle on how to get an advantage in that middle match that they've been unable to implement. And the Japanese have opened better cards. And it's not even that they've opened better cards. It's more that the packs have broken better for them, where they've been handed cards sort of spread out nicely so that each person gets one pick, whereas the Americans have been forced to de-draft a couple of times.
And there's your Sky Knight Legionnaire from Morphuji.
Sure.
5 seconds. Draft.
Gather coverage for Shimura.
Draft.
Sky Knight Legionnaire from Morphuji. And another Stinkweed for Oiso. Sunny does get a Tidewater minion.
It's his second.
It's got nothing
Draft.
degenerate to do with it, though, right? It's just I mean, it's still good, but
just a 5-mana elf.
Draft.
and a 4/4 blocker.
Yeah.
Draft.
Sky Sweeper for Neil could be good there. He's facing a couple Bell Tower Sphinxes.
Right. Absolutely.
Definitely. That was actually a very important pick.
That's one of the 2 1-drops that Neil will play in that deck also.
Right.
I mean, it's something that he looks for. He definitely wants to have a Sky Sweeper in his deck, so he's got to be pretty happy about that relative to his feeling otherwise. The Indentured Oak is just going around.
Well, there's no red draft.
Draft again.
It goes all the way to. Sure, Fuji would rather have an alley cat.
Card.
How bizarre. Yeah, he's playing.
Like
it's red on red.
Proceed over here now, so the American team can come over
here.
here.
There is the draft.
And the
Team
Japanese
USA does not look happy. Neil Reeves in his vintage Nolan Ryan jersey wanders
You're just
off.
behind the curtain on this
The
side.
Japanese, they're not exactly animated, but I think that's a confident walk from Oiso.
Moto Fuji.
So all in all, you think the Japanese won that?
I think it's pretty clear that the Japanese have the advantage in each matchup. Maybe Sani has a more aggressive deck, has an aggressive enough deck in the matchup with Shimura. I don't know Shimura's cards well enough. I wasn't tracking. I was really focusing on the Oiso match and focusing on the DeRosa match.
Mm-hmm.
Sani might have an even matchup or even a slightly better matchup. I'm not sure. He has a lot of good aggressive evasion creatures.
Yeah, Ichiro bounced it around a bit in colors too. I don't know if he's 2, 3, or even potentially 4 colors.
Right. But I think the more Fuji match is just. I don't know that DeRosa even has a deck.
I know. I completely agree.
And
more Fuji's got a good one.
And of course I'm gonna I know we'll go over and talk to Neil, and Neil is just gonna say my deck is maybe his deck is great. He's got some answers. So I'll give them a fighting chance. I wouldn't want to say that it's going to be a slaughter, but
sure. The other thing is that there's no question which national champion is the better player. More Fuji's a more casual Magic player. He's acquitted himself admirably here. He actually finished in the money in the individual competition.
Right.
He was near the top for a while. So he's been playing well, but he doesn't have the experience. He's made some plays that even his teammates have questioned over the course of the weekend. So, will Antonino's play skill be enough to make up for the difference in deck quality? That'll be a very interesting thing to keep an eye on.
He only ended up with the 3 Fangtail. He didn't get the 4th one, but that's going to be really tough for his deck to deal with.
No, yeah.
Although let's not forget, he does have a Guardian of Virugazi. He did switch around, and
right.
So he does have a couple of boom booms there for himself. So, maybe more Fuji won't be expecting that.
Gotta like Oiso versus Neil Reeves, though, right?
Oiso's deck really looked spectacular. Multiple lurking informants, which you can just lock your opponent out of the game with if you get to an advantage. Multiple Bell Tower Sphinxes. Just really solid cards. Multiple Last Gasps. Multiple. Everything that he wanted. Basically. He got all the cards he needed. He was in the perfect position for every pack.
Yeah, I agree. Neil's a great player, but Oiso is also a great player, and I think Oiso's got the better deck, so you gotta like Oiso there.
Oiso. I don't think it's insulting to Neil to say. I think Oiso's the better player.
Okay.
I think Oiso is one of the top. Maybe in his prime, Neil was in the same league, but Oiso.
Neil's not in his prime now. You think Neil was ever playing better Magic than he's playing right now?
That's fair. It's a fair assessment. I'll agree with you on that.
He seems like he's on top of his game.
Oh, he's great. I think Neil's
having a great time, and he is an excellent player.
But Oiso's success on the Pro Tour is just unmatched by anybody over the last 3 years.
The only hesitation I have is I think Neil is pretty good against Masashi. Like, they played in L.A., and it was a pretty interesting moment where Oiso was playing a Balancing King's deck, and Neil was playing Control. And Oiso plays out Orange Chant, which is normally the signal from the Balancing King's deck. You play out the Orange Chant, you're against the Permission deck, they can't count anything, and then you balance them away. And Neil's just staring at him, and he says, okay. He's got a grip full of Permission. He just lets Orange Chant resolve, and Oiso shrugs his shoulders sheepishly. It was a bluff.
Yeah, it was a stone-cold bluff.
He was just trying to bait Permission. He had nothing to follow up the Orange Chant with. Neil let the Orange Chant resolve, and Oiso just shipped the turn.
Yeah.
Neil read him straight through it. So that's a great play from a player that's in his prime.
You're right.
And so it may be that Reeves has got a good read on Oiso, and he's able to get inside Masashi's head. Maybe that gives him the advantage he needs.
I think Oiso's deck is pretty straightforward.
Mm-hmm.
And he's going to play with his guys. And
just trying to keep it interesting.
I know it is going to be interesting. Neil always makes it interesting. That's one thing. I don't want to discount him.
All right, well, we are setting up for the semifinals right now. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to tease you a little bit here, all right? We're going to show you just a little bit of John Finkel versus Bob Maher while we take 5-10 minutes to get the semifinalists ready. Probably won't have time to finish that match, but you can actually watch this match along with a bunch of others. If you go to the Hall of Fame section of the website, click on Multimedia. There's a bunch of stuff there. There's amazing old matches, including the entire Finkel-Maher match. So enjoy this tease and then go check out the Hall of Fame site if you want to get the rest of it.
That page is fantastic, by the way.